Welcome back, everybody. So today, rocking the long time shirt of mine, CEO, 100 millionaire. You know, because we're balling, obviously, and by balling I mean unemployed but happy. So can't complain much. I think financial success is all in the mind anyway. So it's gonna happen quite soon, I believe. So today, I wanted to talk about having a mission in life. And this is something that I have focused on a lot lately, mostly because I've had to convince myself that everything's okay. Because as everyone knows, and as what a big part of this channel is helping people and helping myself by talking through it, get through and understand that success doesn't just plop on your lap, and success can be defined however you want. I personally define success by being happy and having peace and doing what I love. And I believe that all the financial success and whatever you need financially, whether it's making enough to survive or whether it's being a billionaire, I think that all that stuff will come as long as you're good in here, you're good up here, and you put some work in. So I think that's the recipe to success. And hopefully we'll be able to document that pretty well on this channel. That's the plan. But sometimes plans don't work out how you want. So we'll see. But I wanted to talk about that because I believe that having a mission is the best way to carry you through because again, there's a lot of triumphs that come in these goal chasing. There's a lot, or not triumphs, there's a lot of obstacles that you have to triumph over. And a lot of times people so many obstacles that they just stop because it's like, what's the point? Every time I make a step forward, I take two steps back, or every time I take two steps forward, I take one step back. It's like, it just feels like there's such a great tug and pull, which there is. And again, that's why having a mission is important. So I wanted to talk about kind of the difference between having a mission versus having a goal. And I've believed this for a while now that there is a difference between a mission and a goal. But last night, and why I'm kind of inspired to talk about this today, I was watching Jay Shetty's podcast On Purpose, and Jay Shetty was a monk that has taken a lot of his knowledge that he gained as a monk and is using his platform now to teach people about some of that stuff. And I mean, I think he tries to limit what he says and lets his interview guests discuss more, but he does put some good stuff in there. So if you haven't watched him, I would look into that. I've only watched a couple of his podcasts, but both of them were really informative. So the one I watched last night was on Mike Posner, who I've been getting into lately a lot musically because he talks, honestly, he's been, in the past few years, he's talked a lot about the stuff that I'm interested in, the stuff I talk about with just life and, living in the moment and all that stuff that I have really been interested in the past 6 or 8 months. And if you listen to some of his music, I think you'll see some of that, especially his last album. So he interviewed him, and the whole interview is great, and there's a lot of great stuff in there. But the one thing that Jay was talking about was the difference between a mission and a goal. And the problem with having goals is that you can set a goal big or small, and you achieve a bunch of small goals, you feel good, like you have a bunch of small goals leading up to a big goal maybe. You can achieve all those and like you really start to see your progress, like you get confidence because you are achieving those goals. You're proving to yourself you can do it, and that's great. But having a big goal, I think, can sometimes be defeating because, and again, if you listen to these interviews with like Mike Posner or anyone that's been successful in life, will tell you that the achievement that you think you need all your life to really reach that moment of bliss or that greater higher place in life that's just going to sustain itself, it just doesn't come. Like, you work your way up to this high place, and it happens slowly. So like you're slowly changing and adapting to your current situation as you move up. So let's say, like, right now, like, I want to be a successful author, right? And right now I've only put out one book. So if you told me in 10 years that I would have 10 books written and I would have millions and millions of copies sold and I was very well off financially, to me right now that would feel amazing. That would be like, that would almost be like an end goal type of thing. It's like, if I did that, then I could say I was successful and be happy with that. But the problem is, along the way, I'm going to get more used to that fame, and that interest in my writing and the money. So, like, after I publish my next book, I'm going to probably see more success in the first book, and it's going to slowly work up from there. So, right now, having one book published, having 10 books published with a bunch of success, to me right now looks so far away. But by the time I get to my ninth book, that 10th book, which isn't any different than the 10th book I see right now, is not going to look so crazy because I'm just used to it at that point. And it's the same thing with, whether it's a successful musician or anything, businessman. You look at yourself in 10, 15, 20 years and it's so far away, you're going to be so different. So you kind of look at yourself from now to then. But you're going to get to a point where you actually get to that place and it's not going to feel different because you slowly worked your way towards it over time. And so you can set this big, great goal for your life, but once you get there, it's not going to change anything for you. It's going to feel good, but it's not going to sustain your happiness, and you're probably going to want to keep going past that. So the idea is to not focus as much on, I think small goals are probably okay, but especially because small goals are usually more short term, and thinking in the short term for growth purposes, I think, is better. Not necessarily doing things that are only going to have short term gain, but again, growth is a very slow process, and getting too far ahead of yourself can, I think, overwhelm people. And if you just set a bunch of small goals, like today I'm going to do this week I want to do this month I want to do this year I want to do this. So you're not getting too far ahead of yourself, and it's something that you can easily understand and feel like you have good control over because it's such a small goal. But again, the more you achieve those, the more confidence you're going to have. So it's going to help you along the way. But having the big goals, I think, is where you get in trouble because, first of all, those goals can change. So if you tell yourself now you want to do this in 15 years, there's going to be a part along the way where you may not want to do that anymore. And you may look back at the past 5 years and say, wow, like, I kind of wasted my time. So if you get to that place down the line where you realize this isn't what you wanted to do, it's going to feel like you wasted your time, and you're going to get maybe some regret and things of that nature. And again, something I'll continue to hammer down is living in the past is never going to help you. So I think that's where goals can take you. And I know this may seem a little bit crazy because having goals is something that everyone talks about as this great thing. And, being ambitious and wanting to achieve things is not a bad thing. But again, I think it depends on how you frame it. And if you set a big stake in the ground when you achieve this great thing, you're going to look to that thing as like the finish line, or to the point where you think all your problems are gone because you got this. And that's just not the reality of it. I mean, it's so cliche at this point, but it's cliche because it's true that the destination is more important or the journey is more important than the destination. So what you're learning right now, what you're learning along the way, is really what it's all for. Like, I like to think about life as a dance or a song. and I think I actually got this from Matthew McConaughey's book. It may have been somewhere else, but I think he said something similar either way in his book. Great book, by the way, if you haven't read it. If you think about a song, for example, there's like you don't want to get to the end, right? You know the song is gonna end, and that's something that you go into it knowing, but the end of the song is not the great place you're waiting to get to. You are enjoying the song throughout, and I think that's why it's such a poignant way to look at life. Is we don't want to get to the end. We don't want the song to be over. We know it's going to, and we're okay with that. We go into it knowing that the song is going to end. But the parts throughout the song where we're listening to and enjoying the song, that's the great part, right? So getting to the end is not something that should be looked at as, and getting to the end in any way, whether it's the end of achieving this goal or whatever it may be, it's not going to save you. So this is why the mission mindset, I think, is a better way to go about it. And since listening to that podcast yesterday, I've been trying to think about my mission and what exactly am I trying to achieve. Again, I'm trying to get away from goals. So while I want to be a best-selling author or want to have a great YouTube channel or whatever it may be, I recognize, first of all, that may not be like my purpose. That may not be the path I'm supposed to go down. It makes sense to me right now, and it's something I want right now. But in 5 years, I definitely may have something that jumps in that I love way more. So I don't want to tie myself to those specific goals. And just for example, like I've spent so much time in my life writing, and I really have a hard time seeing that ever going away. But I've also in the past year been getting really into podcasting and into YouTube now. So I'm at a point with YouTube where I'm pretty much putting a video out every day. And again, being unemployed makes that a lot easier. But with the podcasting, so I have an NBA podcast to do with my friend. I do that every week during the season. During the off season, it's a little bit different. And then I'm starting another podcast with my friend talking about music and life. So, and I'm gonna link some of this stuff down when it happens. If you guys are interested in that as well. But that's another thing that's going to be a weekly thing. So 2 podcasts and YouTube videos pretty much every day. That is a completely different path from writing. But it's just I figured out it's another thing I enjoy to do, and it's another way to share the message. So I think really the ultimate mission I'd say right now I'd have is educating people / educating people or helping people become happier. That's ultimately what I want from all these things. That if you look at my writing, that's what it's, no matter what I've written about, whether it's sports, music, or the stuff I talk about on this channel, there's something new I want you to learn in everything. There's going to be something in there that I believe you don't know. So I'm not trying to teach you stuff that you already know. You may know this stuff, but that's not my intention, right? So I've realized that's something I can do in a ton of different platforms. And, I'm doing podcasting, YouTube, and writing right now, writing online and books. But there could be something else that pops up later down the line. I'm not counting out, not necessarily becoming a motivational speaker. I don't want to look at myself like that. But essentially, that's what it is. Like, look, people do it, and it helps people, and it's a possible way, a possible pathway for me to go down. Teaching. For a little bit of time now, for a couple years, I've been open to the idea of teaching, like at a college probably would be better, because I don't know how well I would be able to handle high school kids, but I think college is a great time to help people in life, because again, like I just got out of college, and the stuff I'm learning right now, the stuff I've learned in the past couple years, has been really transformative. So I think that's a good time to really grab people and tell them what's up, essentially. So I would say that's the best way to go down, is don't necessarily look at what you are doing right now and set goals around that. I think it's better to look at what or why you like doing what you do. So I like doing this kind of stuff because I like teaching, I like helping people, I like telling stories, and all of those characteristics are tied into everything I do no matter what platform it's on. And that's stuff that I doubt will ever go away. So everyone has characteristics that makes them good at what they are and makes them interested in what they are. So focus on that. Like focus and figuring that out if you don't already know will help you find new careers or new jobs if you lose one. And I've written about this in the past too, and this would be a good video for me to link it about identity and tying your identity to what you do. What you do doesn't necessarily make what you are. I mean, that's kind of contradictory to what I say because I always say what you do is what you are, but I mean that in the sake of right now. Like what you do today is what you are today, right? Your habits make up who you are, but your job doesn't necessarily make who you are. So don't tie yourself to a job title. Don't say like, I'm the CEO of this company because that's going to go away at some point. And it may go away because you chose it to go away or may go away because someone else chose that. But either way, when you lose that, you might have some struggles getting through it because you might not know who you are. So if you're able to recognize why you're doing something, it's going to be a lot easier to get over losing job titles or losing relationships because you know who you are, you know what you can do, and you can take all that knowledge and parlay it into another opportunity, again, whether it's a job or a person or whatever. So that's kind of my action I want you guys to take is figure out your why, figure out what mission you want to be on, and maybe stray away from the long-term goals. Again, short-term goals great. Long-term goals, I say turn those more into missions because that I think is going to better guide you to figuring out where you want to go, who you want to become in the future, and all that encompasses.